Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the J Free 906 podcast. Tom Burns and Jeff Freeman here with you. Freeman Files, and we're jumping into the Curse of Oak Island, season 12, episode
Season 12.
Ooh,
Number 2, whistle while you work.
Whistle While You Work.
Yep.
And I thought that was kind of cool, but yet it really didn't. That wasn't the highlight of the show, I didn't think. Did you?
No, I didn't. I'd heard of this whistle before, but
Yeah.
I guess they're trying to draw a dotted line to somewhere. But
Yeah, exactly.
there's
Yep.
a lot more interesting stuff last night.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Hey, folks, thank you for being here with us tonight. We appreciate your coming along and joining us here as we go through episode number 2. And as always, we like to say, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and click on that notification bell, because that way you know when we have new content coming out. If we don't already announce, you know that we're here just about every Wednesday night at 7:30. And quite often for the next couple of months, we're going to be here on Thursday night at 7:30 as well. And that is to talk about some of the other subjects that I enjoy so much, like treasure hunting elsewhere in North America. And also for tomorrow night, we've got Dustin Eskelson, and he is the director of MUFON in Utah. And he's going to be joining us. I met him at Phenomicon actually a couple of years ago, and he and I have been talking. He's got some really neat stuff he's going to be sharing with us. Jim McElgard will be co-hosting, and we're going to talk about some of the interesting cases that he has been on, and also a little bit about the hearing that just took place. We're going to talk about that as well. So that's tomorrow night, 7:30. So Thursdays for a little while, except next week, of course, because it's Thanksgiving here in the United States. You guys had your Thanksgiving last month, wasn't it?
We have ours the second Monday in October.
Yeah. Yep. So, all right. So here we are. We're going to be talking about this one. And also, if you don't mind, if you like the content of our show we do here tonight, please give us a thumbs up. A thumbs up. We appreciate that very, very much. Thank you, Tom.
Looks kind of like this.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we appreciate it. It does help a lot. So, whistle while you work. This was a very interesting episode, I
Earth
thought.
shaking.
It was earth shaking. Indeed, it was. That's a good analogy. Yeah. Very good.
I thought it was a great episode.
Yeah, I did too. I really did. Yeah. We're going to go through, we're going to kind of dive through this a little bit and kind of break down some of this. And Zane, I'm going to be needing you here shortly too to work on a few things for us. I see you're in the chat. Zane loves to work with his CAD program and help me out with overlays and such. I did my best today because it was too short notice to grab him and try to have him help me on one. So there he says, I'm there, bro. All right. That's good. I appreciate it. All right. Let's dive into it. So, Curse of Oak Island. And here we go with that. And again, I like these aerial shots looking at the island. You never know exactly when this was taken.
It's fun to try and figure it out, though.
It is. You look at the trees, the amount of leaves on them. Are they yellow yet or
I
turning
also look
color?
for the equipment, see what equipment's in the, depending on the angle. I want to see if the red conveyor belt's down by Smith's Cove or whatever, and that tells me if it's a current photo, that type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. You can kind of judge by that a little bit. Good evening, everyone. I won't be watching you for long. It is really late here in Paris, France. Thank you for your
Paris,
podcast.
France.
Thank you.
Like almost 1:00 in the morning, I think.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for coming by for a little while anyway. We really appreciate it. We love to find out where everybody is from. And that's something that Colin Jameson kind of got us doing. And we appreciate that. If you want to, let us know where you're from. We just love hearing the fact that people are that far away and watching the show and staying up to the wee hours. That's really cool. Thank you. Yep, there's a little note. Yeah, we try to keep. Last week, the chat really got crazy for Linda to try to keep up with it all. We had over 1,400 comments for the 2 hours that we were on. Yeah, and it does make it. Try to just stay on topic if you don't mind. Yeah,
because we're trying to, we're trying to pick off what you're saying too. At the same time, Linda's trying to pick stuff off to put it up on the screen, and some of the stuff that Linda doesn't get a chance to look at. Jeff and I are trying to look at it. Jeff's got 2 or 3 screens on the go, so it's nice. Everybody say hello. Everybody say where you're from. It's all part of the social gathering, part of the conversation. But when we get down to the nitty gritty, if we could stay as close to topic as possible, that would make everybody's life easier.
Yeah, everybody's life a little easier. I also wanted to say too, though, for those of you over on Rumble, I do have that up, and I can see the
Mhm.
chat over here. So we'll try to include you in this as well. So if you do decide to chat on something, we'll try to include that into tonight's show. All right, and that's why we do these live, because we'd love to interact with everybody as we go along. Really, really do. All right. They started off the show jumping over to the Oak Island Research Center. And we had Marty there with Rick and Scott and Steve as well. And they're kind of working on the drill program. I think Marty must have just arrived on the island and he wanted to kind of get an update as to what was going on. So they were looking at, and these are very hard to decide.
Oh yeah, that's for the trained eye.
Yeah. Yeah, and I saw somebody else had mentioned in one of the other groups, Facebook groups, about the worms look, and we've talked about
Mhm.
this several times, but that those are the every 10 foot the geo. They put a geo down the pipe and get an idea of exactly
Yep,
the where the thing is walking because they walk.
the
It
walking
moves
worms.
a walking worms, a walking drill. As it goes down, it does
Mhm.
bend and turn and go every which direction. So they kind of watch it and see where it goes, so they know if they missed the mark. Yes, the gummy worms. A couple of things on this particular one that I wanted to point out, and this is this new area that they're concentrating on. Last week we heard about the pie, which is this area that is in the blue line going around here. That's the pie. They've broadened it a little bit where they're getting these gold, silver, and precious metal samples in the water testing that they're doing all the time. They're doing these things. Um, and then they've got this new area here that they're calling the golden egg. I think
The
they're
golden egg. Yeah. So we've got
um,
eggs. We've got gardens. What else have we got?
we got pie.
Pie. We got Thanksgiving dinner all tied up here.
Yeah, we got salad. We got the whole yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
thanks. Yeah, that's great, great, Maya. Thanks.
Mhm.
And also this particular one I really like because, and I'll zoom in on this here real quick because they also have, and as we've talked about before, the 95-foot tunnel that runs across here. And on this next picture, I want to talk about a couple of things. These green X's are all the drills that are the drill program they're going to be doing
Mhm.
coming up here in the near future of the show. Of course, this was all back in June, but we're going to be talking about it here. So, um, and there is this one here. I grabbed this one simply because I wanted to read some of the things that was said, and one of them was right here. And it was F4. This was actually a caisson that was put in the ground. And
RF.
this
Yep.
yeah, and it says drilled into possible air chamber, 108 to 118 feet, air bubbles in rock garden shaft. Remember that when they were drilling and those air bubbles were coming up in the garden shaft
Yep.
when it was just full of water before
Yep.
they had ever
Suggested they're
opened it up?
possibly connected. Yeah.
Yeah, possibly connected. I would have to say most definitely connected when you got that going on. Down here at the bottom, and we were wondering what these little red circles were in this cluster, and it says reestablished drilled stones, uh 1895. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. You
I
see them
can't
on a
read
couple of different diagrams that they do these
that.
sort of packages of stones that are clusters of stones.
Yeah.
And I've yet to figure if anybody knows what that's all about. Put it in the chat.
Yeah, we appreciate that. A couple other things I wanted to point out on this one here real quick too was over here in this tunnel. Now, this was, if you remember correctly, this was the tunnel that when they got down to the bottom of the garden shaft last season, before they had the flood that stopped everything there. Remember when they were looking in the on the one wall and they were finding these beams that were there, right? And
Yep.
it looked like it was the floor of a tunnel, which I
Mhm.
believe it was, and I believe it was this tunnel. A couple of things that are written here is this right here. And I think it's talking about this red or this block right here. It says sample one inside wall.
Yeah. I would say pretty much for sure that's what they're talking about
Hmm.
because they had to reach out through the wall to get them haul them in.
Right. And I'm going to move this out of the way because this one right here says sample 2 wall beam.
Mm-hmm.
So, folks, that was a tunnel. I mean, I don't know if there's much way you can dispute the fact that this was definitely a tunnel that they were following, and they were following it all the way from the other side of the garden shaft up on the
Yeah.
hill, close to where the crane was sitting. And this is where they followed it. And keep that in mind as we go forward here. Now they've got this area that they're calling the Golden Egg, and they were talking about doing a drill program within this area and getting it down in there. The first one's going to be this EN13, and they had marked out this board, and Marty had asked them, "Have you done, or have you started the program? What's going on?" I don't remember exact words he put out.
Mm-hmm.
But Steve pointed, "Oh yeah, right here," and they
Right
pointed
here,
on.
the
And
ones they've
so,
done to date. Yeah, it's cool that they put the dates in on numbers 6 through whatever,
mhm,
but the top 5, it's like, what the heck is that?
yeah, yeah, we didn't quite
We know the
understand.
location. We can figure out the location,
Mhm,
but what's the okay? So they hit a bedrock, or they hit a tunnel, or they hit whatever. But
yeah,
what's the number afterwards? 3 inches, 5 inches, two
I
inches?
we got to get Steve back on the show so we can ask him what does that mean? Bottom cave 2 inches, bedrock 3 inches, bedrock 3 inches. Does that mean they went into the bedrock 3 inches?
Yeah,
And
but
then here, as
how
Tom
would you
just
get a
said,
how'd you get a tunnel depth of 2 inches though? That's the thing, right? So if anybody can
yeah,
figure it out, let us know.
yeah. If you have any idea, let us know in the chat about that. But yeah, the rest of them show the depth that they went. These over here didn't give us a depth, all except for this one. It says 130 feet, two
Mhm.
inches. Okay. Um, but what I wanted to do, because they didn't bother to give all of us this information, I wanted to take a look at where those are. And if you see, we got a lot of IN3 through IN11, DN11, GN5, and all of those. So, and this is some of the stuff where now we're getting into Zane's area, which I didn't have Zane to. I didn't want to hit him with the last minute.
Mm.
Hey, can you put this together when you get home from work before the show starts? No, I didn't want to do that to him. So, um, maybe the numbers after indicate the size of the drill or caisson. Maybe can't rule that out. It's a 6-inch well that they're drilling on just about all of these. I don't know. It's hard to say. But what I did was I took this older picture of the. You see this all the time on the show. Holland, Ohio. Hey, it's Jack Campbell. How you doing, Mr. Campbell? Good to see you there.
I wonder, just to back up a bit, if
Mhm.
they went into those are places that they're also testing for silver, right? So did they go down to bedrock and leave a 3-inch PCB pipe for Dr. Spooner? 3 inch,
Oh,
2 inch. They left a
very
5 inch in one,
interesting.
2 inch in another.
That could be. That could be.
Because you see him running around up there, he's dropping his little tester down, and there's however size hole it is.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, they left a 3 inch in there, or a 2 inch, or 3 inch, because there are some small ones that I've
Mm,
noticed in some of the holes too. Yeah, yeah. Renee says good possibility. Good thinking, Tom. Yep. That's why we throw these out there, see if we can
mm,
figure it out. All right. So jumping over here, I made this. I actually took their original little map showing the baby blob and the blob and all that, and I
mm,
added some things to it. I had to go higher up above because they didn't have that laid out in this particular shot. But the red dots are all of the well, there's 17 of those holes that they have on that whiteboard in the previous screen. So here's 17 of those holes, and you can kind of see where they are. I laid them out on the
mm,
grid, and I had to add some grid because they had one of them way over here in JN25.5. So that's way over here, and that would be up basically up where the crane sits, up on top of
mm.
the hill there. Um,
So what do you think they were looking for?
yes. What do you think they were
What do you
looking
think they were
for
doing?
way over there?
I have my theory what they were doing, but I just have theories.
Yeah.
What do
What do
you
you think
folks
they
think they
were
were doing?
doing way over there? Or here even,
Or
or
the straight
even here.
line?
Yeah, all along up here, or this line here.
Mm,
Now, this is the area that they cleared off, that they dug into the hillside. This was all part of the hillside, or most of it
mm.
was, that they excavated out and flattened it out so they could get over there and do some drills. Um,
Yeah,
Offset, Tim says.
looking for the offset chamber. Yeah, could be
Yeah, yep.
chasing the 10x tunnel. Yep.
That would be a good one too, chasing the 10X tunnel for sure. Yeah, I like that. Seeing how far the tunnel goes. Yep,
Mm-hmm.
yep. That could be a good thing too. Looking for the tunnel they found in the other side by the looks of it. That tunnel, actually, if I can draw this line in here, I'm going to show you where I think it is. And that tunnel, remember they found it. Okay, why is this not going away? There we go. All right, these holes here, they hit tunnel, and this is where they had that long piece of wood that was 7 feet tall, long piece
Vertical
of
piece
wood.
of wood. Yeah.
Yeah, that was over here in these holes. So that tunnel kind of ran along through here, and then they say it bends and comes down across like that through the blob. So they up here, they're looking for something else, and it could be from 10X because that's kind of the direction of 10X up that way.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Now, here's something else. I added a couple more things to this. Now, these aren't exact, and neither is this grid. This is made at Prometheus. They make this up so that they can show us on TV.
Yeah.
So it's a best guess, um, based upon the information they have and the drawing and everything. But I put 2 and 2A in here. That's roughly where they were. Um, Garden shaft, what side did they drill and hit water looking for flood tunnels? Red dots? Yeah, there was all water. Well, pretty much every hole has
Mm.
water in it. Just about.
When they're in the garden shaft and they were drilling out what to the left hand side as you're looking at the garden shaft, that's where they struck the water, I think.
Hmm. Yes. And it
That's
was
where they.
blowing, remember, it was blowing air up through there
Yeah.
too. Yep. Now, you heard him talk about
Yeah.
the
Zane says
offset.
west side towards the baby blob. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Zane.
Mm.
You've heard him talk many times about the offset chamber. This is one of Marty's best guesses about an offset chamber. And I like that because I think there's some credence to that. If you think about it, it makes logical sense that if they knew that this was going to be flooded at some point, they wouldn't want the treasure to be flooded. They might have it up in an offset chamber. Now they're hoping, at least at this point of the season, which I believe is June, right around June, they're hoping that it's inside the golden egg area, which is right here. Now, it kind of makes sense if this tunnel was their access tunnel, and then they came off of this access tunnel with their
Correct. Yep.
offset chamber.
Offset chamber. Yeah. It's quite possible.
Quite possible. This yellow spot down here is actually, I'm kind of, after we got talking in the pre-show, I think I'm moving it a little bit. But remember the caisson that's left in the ground that they left there? It's going to be
Mhm.
there all winter.
Yep.
We noticed that it's full of water too, right up almost to ground level, or just below ground, maybe about 10 feet below the ground level. That seems a little high for the rise, like in what fills
Yeah.
up.
The money pit. The money pit's roughly 30 feet in the air, or 30 feet in the air, 30 feet above sea level.
Correct.
Right. Well, if that caisson's sticking out of the ground, if you can look at it from the shore, it looks like it's sticking out of the ground. I don't know, 6 or 7 feet probably.
Mhm.
And if the water's, people are saying 10 feet from the top, then you're 20 odd feet above sea level. Well, the tide is not going to push water 20 feet above if that's seawater, right? It's not going to force water up that hole. The water in the hole is going to go up and down the same level as the tide.
Yeah.
So it's not, to me, it's not seawater.
Hmm.
It's groundwater of some sort settled at the top.
Yeah. So I'm not really sure why. There was some talk that maybe it was backfilled with dirt already, and that's water on top.
That
I
would
would
make
think
sense.
that it would probably flow down in there. I don't know, but um,
And we don't even know how deep that caisson goes.
yeah, exactly.
It could only
That's
be one. It could only be one length in there, and they left it for show. I mean, who knows?
right. That's back when we were trying to speculate about
Mm-hmm.
why they left one in the ground in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Why, did something break down? They couldn't get it back out. They couldn't get new machinery out there with the limited time they had left in the season, so they just left it there. That's a
Yeah,
possibility.
I don't know. To me, this whole machine, I mean, we talked about it before, but this whole machine relieving a month early, that tells me something. I don't know
Yeah,
what it tells me, but it tells me something.
yeah, I know. So yeah, so now they're gonna peg this whole area here with more boreholes. DN11 is going in and all of that. They're gonna do a lot more searching, and well, they did actually as they go along in the show here. But anyway, I put that together, hoping that would give a little bit more clarity to everything. And again, that 2 and 2A, again, they were talking about we were having a little discussion. Somebody commented in the on the YouTube video from last week, um, and they had asked the question about why, if that neither one of these could be the original garden or the original money pit, because they're cribbed. There's wood. I'll get to that in just a second. Isn't there an area? Isn't that area the place where the ground started sinking while they were digging and it was deemed unsafe? I think that was around H8, wasn't it? I thought that was around
I'd
H8.
have to go back and look. I'm not sure.
I think that was the right around in here.
Well, yeah, and not only that, but they wouldn't. I don't think they would sink a caisson down. This purpose of the 7-foot caisson
Mhm.
was to avoid overlapping where other caissons had been put in.
Yep.
So if the other caisson was the one that sunk, it's gonna, you would be in close proximity, but they wouldn't have hit it with that caisson
Mhm.
if it is in close proximity. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, anything could cause a collapse down there. We know that there's
Oh my God.
naturally formed chambers down there in addition to possibly man-made chambers. So
Yes.
anything could cause a collapse.
Yes. And that's hence the thumbnail that I used for tonight's show, talking about, is this money pit area, is it in danger of a major collapse? I mean, you folks, we've seen and we know that they did bring out the oscillator, the crane, and all this stuff out on the, and it's safe. The crane did not sink into the ground, and the oscillator and all that was, so it must be safe. But with those cavities down there, and if you go back and watch the show that I did with Jeremy Church from Panther Geoscience, we did two, one in the money pit, one in the swamp. There is natural cavities down there that they may have utilized, or natural cavities, or cavities maybe they dug have become natural cavity. I mean, they widened or whatever.
Mhm. If there was a collapse, it wouldn't be the first one. Remember, they were digging the Searcher Tunnel shaft, I don't know, back in the 1800s, whatever it was. And, they heard the loud crash and
Mhm.
they came back and the shaft was gone.
Yep. So, um, hang on one second. I gotta get rid of this here. Okay. Sorry, somebody over on the Rumble side. All right. So I was doing my best guess here, but I think that this caisson that's left in the ground is actually right around the Hedden and the chapel shafts, right in this area, which a nice little map that that Henry shared. I'm going to
Mhm.
bring this one up real quick because I think this is a good time to show it.
That was a good one. I thought he did a great job on that.
Yeah, Henry found this picture that was from a Restall drawing of the money pit area. And I want to point out a couple of things on this. So let's bring this back up here and take a look at this,
Mm.
folks. All right. This was from the Restalls. And I wanted to show this right here. You have, let me get my marker so you can see where I'm at. You have this area right here, and it says the Hedden pit or Hedden shaft and the date, the chapel pit right here, and then the money pit. This right here says the money pit, and it shows it right in between. And I'll get rid of my marker
Mm.
so you can see that a little better, maybe. Here's a circle. There's a circle right there, and it's right in between the Hedden shaft and the chapel shaft, right there. And it says money pit found 1795. So, I mean, did he know that's where it was, or was that his assumption where it was?
The other thing I just happened to notice on there too, and thinking about Doug Crowell's 5-minute video, just zoom in on that again, that same spot, Jeff.
Uh-huh.
Okay, top left-hand corner, Smith's Cellar.
Smith's Cellar. Yep.
So we know where that is.
Yeah.
Right, in relation to the money pit, and we know where he suspected, because Smith's house was supposedly facing
Yep.
the original money pit.
Yeah. His house, his front porch was supposedly facing the money pit, so he could keep an eye on it.
So if the this really complicates it, because if the head shaft and the chapel shaft are in the same spot as they are now, then where Doug was pointing to was at the back of the money pit behind the garden shaft. That's quite a bit of difference.
Mm-hmm. Which would maybe be why they punched a couple boreholes back there.
I think they were up on the hill trolling. Basically, they just drilled a straight line. They just went, they're up there trolling. They're trying to hit something. They think something might be up there,
Yep.
but they're guessing. And I think they took all those guesses before Marty showed up, because now Marty wanted to know what they were doing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Show me what you've done.
Yep. Interesting. Some of the things here. It says granite drilled rock right here. Here's another drilled rock.
That's information from the earlier drill programs. Yeah.
Yeah, this is this is good map. Thank you for sharing that on the we have a Facebook group page. And I didn't even talk about that, did I?
No. So, but what it proves to us is the actual location of the money pit is still a mystery.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is.
Anyway, you want to talk about the group?
Yeah, well, I wanted to talk about tonight's giveaway. I forgot to mention it.
Oh, giveaway. Yeah.
We do have a giveaway for tonight. And again, this started last year, last season. People were giving us stuff to give away, so we decided to just do that. And tonight's giveaway is we're going to do this here in just a little bit. Tonight's giveaway is this T-shirt. So we got a T-shirt here. And then also we have these coasters down here. And the T-shirt was actually purchased by or donated by Christina and I. We when we were at the store. This is from the store, the Oak Island Treasure Shop. We bought it there, and we all sent all this stuff to Linda so she could be the one bothered with trying to mail it all out. And it says, what does Nova Scotia tartan look like? The tartan combines October blue of the sea, light and dark greens, which represent the evergreen and hardwood trees, white for the granite and the surf along the shores, a gold line in the Royal Charter, and the red for the lion rampant found. It's covered up. I can't see the rest of it. But anyway, so this is what our giveaway is tonight, and we'll give more explanation about that as we go. We'll do that giveaway here in just a little bit. All right. I forgot to show that at the beginning. Linda wasn't waving her arms at me and hollering down there. I forgot.
Give it time.
Yeah, exactly. I did this overhead shot here of the money pit because I think this is very close. Now you see the garden shaft right here. This is where the egg is, kind of like right in there someplace, roughly. But take a look at where the choice drilling rig is. And I think it's very close to where the caisson was left in the ground.
Got to turn my head sideways here. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the business end of the drill right here.
Right in that area where the truck is, for sure. Yeah. The drill. Yep.
Yep. And I think that the heading and the chapel shafts are right here underneath them. And I think that's what he's drilling. Anyway, just grabbed that. I thought it was an interesting shot. All right, this is the offset. This is what Marty keeps talking about, the offset chamber. And this is what it would roughly an idea of what it would look like in the ground. Now they show it there coming off of the actual original money pit, where I'm thinking it's probably off of a tunnel and then they tunneled up to it. So it might be off of a tunnel down there someplace. But it makes sense. If this all flooded with water, then hopefully at some point, maybe the water would flood up to this area and this would stay high and dry. Mm-hmm. That's the idea behind it.
So that being the case, then that offset chamber should, in theory, be above sea level then, wouldn't it?
You would think so. Craig, thank you very much. I appreciate that, sir. Super chat challenge. Support your podcaster.
Support your local podcast.
Support your local podcaster. Thank you, Craig. I appreciate it, sir. Oh, what do we got there? Sylvania.
Slovenia.
Wow, Slovenia. Wow. Greetings to you too. Thank you. Appreciate your being here tonight. All right, so that's your look at an offset chamber, and I think it's honestly, I think it's a very good likelihood that one exists. I really do.
I mean, that was a common way. I mean, I don't want to say common, but that was one method they used to hide treasure. Right? It's like, letting you drive by the exit, so to speak.
Exactly, and yeah, and that could be you've got the original money pit, and everybody we're looking for that right now. They're looking all over the place trying to find the original money pit. And that's been the search for the last 227 years. They're looking for the original money pit. But if there is an offset chamber or a tunnel leading to another place, you don't know where that is.
If you look at Templar tunnels, underground passages, even the pyramids, they have these offset chambers going.
Yep.
Everywhere's offset tunnels.
Yep. And we were talking.
Not all tunnels run horizontal to the surface.
Right. And I think that I was started to mention about that we had some folks asking about the wood in the original guard or money pit going down. And Tom and I you were talking about Randall Sullivan's book. Did you want to talk about that real quick? And
yeah, I mean, everybody gets going on. Well, if shaft 2 or shaft 2A is the original money pit, there wasn't any wood, the boys dug down, etc., etc. Well, that's just a picture I took of one of the pages out of his book today. But the sort of, I guess, for lack of a better term, the Reader's Digest version of this is the boys boys or young men or whatever they were when they found this money pit, they only went down 20 feet. So a couple of good guys, a couple of long ladders, and you can dig down 20 feet, I would say, pretty safely without any worry of collapse.
Right.
So along comes, what was it, the Onslow Company years later, and they go down and they start digging where the boys left off. They find whatever the boys left in the ground to identify the fact that it hadn't been messed with. And in order to go deeper, they start putting in the wood cribbing. So, was there wood cribbing there originally? Probably not. Maybe when the depositors left, if they found the original shaft, they took it with them and packed it full of dirt. I don't know. But the reason wood cribbing would be there now is because when they went back to try and dig down, they had to put the wood cribbing in order to support the walls.
Exactly.
And people would say, just one more thing, people would say, oh, well, there wasn't any wood cribbing there because they found the chisel marks on the side, right? Or the pick marks in the clay going down the side. Well, that's because they took the wood out with them when they left. But when the new guys had to put their down there, they found them. That was evidence they were going in the right direction. Put your wood cribbing in and keep going.
Yep. Yeah, because they don't want to collapse. So they're going to put that in there. So what you would find now, years later, is a shaft with wood cribbing on it, walls and everything. And you'd have layers of decking so that you could put your ladders. Just like the garden shaft was constructed. You see how it went down in 10-foot sections, and you had to, and they kept the one side open for the hammer grab or maybe even stuff being lowered in and out.
Yeah.
And then you got the other side with the ladders to go down all the way to the bottom. So that's what you're going to find, unless it was removed again years later, which I don't know that they would have. I think they would have, when it flooded, they would have left all that in there, right? Because they went down to supposedly 90 feet, took out
they hit water. Yeah, they hit water, yeah.
And they hit water. And they never went back in there.
If you look at anybody, I mean, you read the Reader's Digest book itself that they talked about on Tales from Oak Island last night. Everybody hits water. You get down, so many feet in the ground, you're going to hit groundwater or you're going to hit seawater. That's just the way the ground is made.
Yep.
It's a question of where it's coming from, the force, and if you can divert it or stop it.
Right. Exactly. And speaking of which, I'm glad you brought that up real quick. We'll mention that. I thought that was Tales of Oak Island from Oak Island. I thought that was a very good show. I really enjoyed that.
What do you guys think of it in the chat?
Yeah,
that was excellent. I thought, people always look at me sometimes and they go, oh, you follow Oak Island, you do to kind of go, okay, well, there's nothing there. And I go, and they say, well, what's the story? And you try and tell them the story in 30 seconds to maintain their interest. But if you get somebody that's really wants to know, the Reader's Digest version of what's taken place on Oak Island over the course of 200 years. Show them that episode last night,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
boom, you're up to speed.
Exactly. I thought it was very well done. It talked about some of the main players. It didn't go all the way back and cover everything. It talked about
Mhm.
Chapel and I forgot his
Yeah,
partner's
Chapel,
name.
Hedden, Dunfield,
Mhm.
all the players,
Yep.
Roosevelt,
The Restalls.
Restalls. Yeah, great section on the Restalls.
Yep.
Really
And
showed
then the
what they
Dan
lived
Luke
through to
ship,
go there.
and then the whole advent or the coming
Mhm.
on of Marty and Rick Lagina. So I think it was very good. I enjoyed it.
Well done. I thought it was very well done.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. And we just threw that out there, what you guys thought of it. Oh, yeah. I thought it was very informative. Kay
Mhm.
said, I love the series, the stories show. Yep. Didn't watch it yet. Oh, coach didn't watch it yet. Yeah. I thought it was very good.
Mhm.
We're not going to go through and, so unless
No.
something really earth shattering is seen in there.
Mhm.
But I thought it was very well done, and it
Yeah.
kind of takes that away now. Um, so good stuff. All right. Now, we're going to stay in the money pit here just for a little bit longer. But next thing that we happened, which is, I think, in my opinion, was probably the pinnacle of last night's episode. One of them, anyway, was this right here, and this is where
Yeah.
Ian, and he's always doing these. He's always doing these water samples. He comes out there once every couple week or a couple times a week, and he's doing water samples and he's following up on everything while he's there. And you see that he's over here and he's in that area that they cleared out so they could do some drilling over there this year. And did you guys see, everyone in the chat? I want to get your opinion on this. When he was describing what had happened, and it was just earlier. I mean, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours earlier before Rick got there and he explained all this. But did you see um, or get a feeling for how he felt about what happened? What was your impression, Tom?
If it was 2 hours between when he heard what he heard and felt what he felt and the time Rick got there, it had to be something, because Ian's a pretty cool guy, right? There's not too much going to shake him up too much. And if it was 2 hours or even an hour after the fact, and you could hear it in his voice that he was excited about this,
Yeah.
right? He hadn't had a chance to calm down yet, right? And if he had had a chance to calm down, imagine what he felt like when it actually happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said he felt it.
Yeah. He felt it and he said he goes, I thought it was thunder.
Mm.
And he was hearing this rumbling, this booming, he called it boom, boom, boom. And you remember Tom kind of alluded to it earlier that this sort of thing happened back in, I don't know, the 1800s
Yeah.
when they were drilling, and they think it was the collapse of the original money pit, all the wood cribbing that we said would have been on those walls collapsing down into, and we don't know if it was the money pit then. We assume so because they
Mm.
didn't have 20 some odd shafts in the ground at that point.
Mm.
But I was wondering if it was another shaft somewhere that they hadn't found, because they found 2A. They didn't even know 2A was in there,
Mm-hmm.
and so, but it still comes to the point that there is a void down there or something. Um,
Something caused a release of pressure somewhere.
yeah,
It wasn't just the tide coming in.
yeah, yeah. I I can't imagine what that would felt like, to Ian having done that. But it would be scary. So that's what Kevin said. It would be
Mm.
scary. I think so
Yeah,
too.
well, like he said, he's never heard anything like it before.
Mhm. And that's why I asked that question: is the money pit unstable? I mean, gosh, I don't know. But he did some water testing, and he was holding this bottle. Now we can't tell by looking at this bottle. At least I couldn't. He was talking about how it was brownish or yellowish color.
Yellow. Yeah.
Yeah, a
Yellowish
yellowish.
color. Yellowish
Yeah,
tinge to it. Yeah.
and he was holding this up, and I noticed that it says Avanti, June 19th, 2024 on it. We're always looking for those dates to kind of see what's going on. So he had just taken that water sample, and he told Rick he took it after the collapse.
Correct. I
So
think he might have actually taken 2 samples. I think he was probably taking one at the time that it happened, so he got the clean sample,
mhm,
and then he took another one to see
yeah,
what the
right
change
after.
was, right? Because then he would know it changed from clear to yellow.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's and it's hard to see it here on the screen, but obviously he said it was, and I believe him.
Oh, yeah. He would
Um,
know.
yeah, he would definitely know. So it's interesting that that collapse had shook things up a little bit. Um, yeah, and there's the wellhead, Avanti. Was and folks, I was asking Tom this earlier. Do you remember when was it? This was at the end of season 11, right? That they had put those two. It wasn't there a Bravo and Avanti,
Yeah,
or
there
it
could
wasn't
be. Yeah, there could
an
be.
A and a B that
I
they
can't
put
remember.
in
Does anybody else?
right at the end of the season? I thought I was going to go back and look. We were talking about that in the pre-show, and I thought, well, I'm
Mm,
going to have to go back and look now
mm.
to see, look at my notes from season 11 at the end there, and to see where they, because I thought they popped those in the ground back then. Yeah. So
And
anyway,
he said that that sound lasted 30 seconds. So
yes,
we're not talking just a little sort of clap of thunder, for lack of a better term.
right.
We're talking about a continuous rumble. Like, you might want to give some thought to, picking them up and putting them down and get out of there. You know what I mean?
Mhm. That's probably why the truck left early that you were talking about at the beginning of this episode because of the collapse. And maybe, I
Yeah,
mean,
could be they were
you
worried about the
know,
integrity.
that's that's
Well, but
actually
there's no
not a
caissons in at that time, though, is there?
no, not at this point. No,
But we don't know what happened when they put the caissons in either.
correct. Yes, maybe they were putting that case on in
Mm,
there by Chapel in the Head and Shafts, and
mm,
something happened like a collapse. That's something I hadn't considered. So
yeah,
maybe
maybe
Gina's
putting it
right.
down and the bottom fell out, right?
Maybe the bottom fell out and they went, "Oh crap. Everybody get off the," because
Mhm.
everything left, every piece of equipment, the trailers, the everything left
I don't think
the
they did any
money pit.
drilling. They had the big drill attachments there, the pump attachments. From everything we could see from the shore, I don't think they did any of that.
Yep. So there you go, Jan. Thank you, Jan. You're always
Monte
on
and
top
Bravo,
of it.
there you go.
Avanti 1 and Bravo 1 were the last two that were put in right at the end of
Mhm.
season 11, right? So, wow, that's yeah, Kat says good thought. Yeah. Maybe it did start to get unstable and they had to get the heck off of it. I I I mean, what would you do if that were the case? I know here I go speculating about that. Boy, if that's the case, what do you do now in the money pit? Where do you go from here?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's still all that area up behind the money pit too that I think is becoming more interesting all the time.
It
I've
is.
always said there's answers in 10x.
I know. I'm still an advocate for 10x.
I would never put an X through 10x yet.
Right. Yeah, the caissons didn't show up until yeah, like mid-August or so.
Mm.
Right. Yep. So yeah,
But
we got those from
what happened to make them take off
ooh,
a month early and not?
and they
To me, they
did.
didn't. To me, they didn't finish
Ev-
what they came to do.
Everything left
Mm.
and left it hanging in the air like that.
Mm.
So, Gina, thank you so much. Super sticker. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Gina. You guys are helping to keep this podcast going. Yeah, I appreciate that. Um, so yeah, that's an awesome thought. Boy, now I got three possibilities. I still wanted to believe that they put the case on in the ground and they found something really, really significant. Didn't have time to get to it this season.
Yeah,
So he says,
they did avoid stuff things start to fall into.
"Don't say that."
That's pretty significant.
I want to believe they found something really cool and they want to go back. And they said, well, we don't have time. So we're going to leave
Yeah.
this here to market and we'll be back and we'll get it next season. Ugh.
I mean, I don't know. We'll have to wait and
If
see.
they're off the money pit now
We have to
until
wait and
some,
see. That's all there
oh,
is to it. Yeah. I don't know.
I hope I hate to say it, Gina, but I hope you're wrong.
Mm.
Wow, good thought. All right. Let's go ahead and we're going to do our giveaway. We'll jump into that real quick and get Linda up here, and I'll bring back up the picture. And I know and I'm going to do an Oak Island. Hi, Linda. I'm going to do an Oak Island thing that I complained a little bit about last week. I'm going to go back in time and I'm going to tell you what you need to do to become eligible for the giveaway. So I'm going to go back and repeat something that most of you guys have heard 100 times. All right. We have a Facebook group page for those of you that do not know. It is called The Curse of Oak Island and Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. There's a link for it down in the description of the show. You must be a member of that group, and Linda will put out a post. She'll put a picture up showing the post will be a picture showing what the giveaway is for the upcoming week. And all you have to do is a comment to that post, say yes. That's all you do. Just say yes. Your name then goes into the hat, and we will spin for this, and then we'll get it to you. So, all right. So that's you must be. Oh, and you must be present at the podcast to win. We give you a minute or so to say, "Hey, I'm here. I'm here," and then we'll get your details and everything and go from there. So, a nice shirt. I like that shirt too. I really enjoy that one, and the coasters with the tartan on it, maritime tartan. So, all right. What do you think, Glenda?
Well, I will tell you that next week's giveaway is from Gina.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Gina has a small business,
Mhm.
and we are going to give away one of her candles
All right. Good deal.
and something else. It's all good. I don't
That'd be
remember.
good.
I don't remember. It's in a pile.
Yeah.
All right.
Trust me, folks, we are organized. Okay.
Yes.
We
Yes.
are not organized at all. We're not even close.
Organized confusion.
Yes.
Right.
All right. Organized chaos. All right. So I'm going to put Linda in solo layout here, and she's going to do the spinaroo, and she's got everybody's names that said last week.
Guys, there are like 8,000 names on here.
Oh my gosh. I would not want to be the one that has to put all those in there.
Yeah.
Don't ever call in sick, Linda.
Yeah, right.
I know. Yeah, you're not allowed to ever call in sick.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
Oh, I want to turn the sound up because I always forget to do that. There we
Oh.
go.
So you can hear that. There it goes. Oh. Vicky Manor. All right, Vicky, are you here? We'll give you a few minutes to kind of chime in and tell us that you're here. And if not, we'll spin again. So, but yeah, that was pretty fun to go to the treasure shop. I know some folks were just there and they got to see some of the guys from the island. They had a little thing. That was last Saturday, wasn't it?
Last
That
Saturday.
was, yeah, just a couple of days ago. Kat and Linda went.
Yeah, Kat was there. Linda was there. So yeah, you get to see. I know it was Laird and Scott and Doug and Carmen.
Carmen was there.
Carmen.
Yeah, Carmen was
Yeah.
there.
How lucky you folks in Nova
And
Scotia.
Joan Barker was there.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
Yep.
And it's
How
amazing
lucky.
how approachable these people are. Like they're
I
not,
know.
some sort of movie star standing off in the corner with their agent protecting them.
Yeah,
You just walk up
exactly.
and talk to them like you would anybody else.
Yep. Shake their hand, all that. Yep, absolutely. We haven't heard from Vicky yet, have we?
Normally Vicky is here, but I have not seen her all evening. So
looks like a PEI dirt shirt. I don't know what size it is. I don't know.
it's an extra large.
Okay, extra large. There you go. If it's too big for you, then it'll work great for sleeping in, I guess.
Yeah.
Still don't see a Vicky.
I'll make it into a pillow.
Yeah. I don't see anything from Vicky.
I don't either. So we're going to have to spin again, kids.
Yeah. All right. We're going to do it again. All right.
All right. Ready?
Sorry about that. Yeah, Vicky, but
Wherever you are.
yep. Let me get you in
I don't know
solo.
where she is tonight.
Yep. All right. Here we go. We're going to spin again. No top pocket. No. Lori Sharpless. Lori Sharpless, are you here? Are you with us tonight? Lori, where are you? Nothing yet. We'll hang on a minute. As it says, we got about a 15-second delay, so we'll give her some time here.
Yeah. I think the other thing from the tales of promo, or the tales from Oak Island last night, was how long people get involved in this search was really what drives home. It's not like they show up for 1 year and then they leave. You know,
Right.
some of these people are in this search for 50, like Blankenship was in there for 50 years. Other people in there for 60 years. You know, it's a long, like when they go in there, as Marty says, you're all in forever in, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. The Rustalls lived for-
Fred was 60 years.
Yep. And you know that Rustalls would have been there much longer had that tragedy not happened
Oh
to
yeah.
them.
You know, the
So
crazy thing about all the work that was done prior to the Rustalls, including the Rustalls,
Guys,
they got all that stuff over there with no causeway.
yeah.
Fran Tech
Uh-huh.
is Lori Sharpless.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
Because
Good
you
deal.
can use any name you want. And so it's
Mhm.
hard for us to figure this all out if you don't tell me ahead of time.
Mhm.
Right.
Um,
Right. All right.
So,
Okay, we have a winner. Gary.
Good.
Fran, I need you to send me a private message with your address and your actual name
So we can get that over to you. All
so
right.
I can get that sent out to you.
All right. Thank you, Linda.
Okay, thanks.
Congratulations, Lori. Appreciate it.
See you next
So,
week.
yep. We'll have another good one for next week. And yeah, we will have a show next week. We got the Thanksgiving for those of us in the United States. But I'm going out of town on, Thursday morning, but Wednesday night we'll be here. We're going to do a
Oh, yeah.
Wednesday night show. We'll be talking episode number 3. All right. So moving right along, we are going to jump over to lot 5.
The
Now,
lot
lot
that keeps on
5,
giving.
yeah, the lot that definitely keeps on giving for sure. Now, lot 5, we see Jack and Laird Niven going over there. And something a little unusual about this particular, and Tom's going to elaborate on this a little bit, but we noticed something. They had mentioned that Gary had metal detected this area and he found some hits. A couple of these hits where you see those little pink flags sticking up were non-ferrous hits. But where's Gary? Why is Gary not standing there and,
Yep,
and Jack with the shovel?
exactly.
And we got a little you remember something that was mentioned, and now twice last week and this week was mentioned on the show.
Yep.
About a
Alex
special
Alex
place.
talked about it being a designated special place, and that the rules for archaeological work are much more stringent.
Mhm.
So I get curious today, and I started, what the heck is this Special Places Act? So I went on, and you can just Google it, Province of Nova Scotia, Special Places. You can read the act, all the rules, the regulations, how to register a site, how to register for a permit, everything. One thing that's kind of cool about it is that the sites that are registered, there's over 1,800 sites in Nova Scotia that are registered. However, the average Joe like me can't go on and find out where they are. So I expect you'd have to have someone with credentials like a Laird Nevin or someone like that that has the ability to go in and look and see where things are.
Right.
But some of the rules are pretty stringent.
Yep.
And I just did a copy and paste on this. And so you know why they're pretty careful about how they act around these sites. For an individual who's caught in violation of the rules, the fine could be up to $10,000 per person. But if you're a corporation, which is what they have working on the island, these people all work for a corporation, the fine could be up to $100,000.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'd be careful too.
Yeah, I'd be very careful. So with that, we're assuming that's why Gary's not there, because Laird has to be the one that does the actual. Again, we're assuming that because of this special places, that Laird has to be. He's the archaeologist in charge, and so he has to be there and be the one that actually excavates this
Yeah.
particular.
And did you notice when he digs this, he's digging it with a square shovel, right, in a squarely shaped hole. And when he goes to remove or shift anything within that sort of 1 by 1 foot, it's all inwards, nothing outwards. He doesn't drag anything outside of the hole. He drags it all into the hole.
Yep.
So he's
I
very
noticed that.
careful, very meticulous about what comes out of that particularly marked hole. Yep.
Yep. And then he picked it up nice and easy, dumped it into the sifter, and
Yep.
then Jack was able to do the sifting for him, which they do when they're there, working in the.
You can work under the supervision. You can work under the supervision of an archaeologist. Yeah.
Right. Right. So we're assuming that's why, because we were questioning. Okay, why isn't Gary there? Why isn't he doing that? Why this is unusual to have Laird.
Why isn't anybody else there? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, no one.
Where's everybody else?
Did they have to clear out or whatever? But yeah, there was a lot of people asking the question, why is Laird digging it up and where's Gary? And because he mentioned Gary had metal detected these hits.
Yep.
So
Yeah, there's flags all over the place. Yeah.
yep. So anyway, we thought we'd elaborate on that a moment and talk about the special places. Here we grabbed this. I grabbed this picture because look what all is going on over here.
That's a village. It's an
I'm telling
encampment of some sort. I
it
don't know.
has to be.
What do you guys think it is? I don't know. I mean, it's just
Look back
huge.
here. You've got sticks up back here, marking stuff. You got over here.
Test
You've
pits
got
over on the left.
yeah, you've got stuff way over here that's going on. Sample holes happening over there.
Remember when Jamie was there last year? They thought it was going to be like 40 by 60 was what they're
Yes.
ground penetrating. That's way bigger than 40 by 60.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
That's just what we're seeing from that particular camera angle.
Right. Isn't that something?
Mm.
This lot 5 area is going to be a massive undertaking. We're not going to see the end of what's going on here for a few years yet, I think. And it's because it's a special place. They have to go so slowly with it and do it meticulously as archaeologists do. Yeah, it doesn't look big enough to be a sleeping area. I agree with you, Tim. I agree with you on that. They were talking about a bunkhouse, a food place, a storage place, or whatever. It's hard to say that, you know,
All these small, I'm going to call them rock compartments.
yeah, like here,
What are they for? They got to be storage.
like here. This is one right here.
Yep. They're all over the place, these little wee compartments.
Yeah, little tiny little things. I don't know. Hard to say, but they're continuing to widen it. And now you've seen when Laird was back over there, that they found. Well, we'll get the coin here in just a moment, but they're finding this area that they were sounded hollow underneath, like it was covered. Remember, he was thumping on it with his trowel, and you could hear that like it sounded hollow underneath, like it was
And who
covering
was it? Alex or whoever was there, or Jack, whoever said they could feel it under their feet.
That was Alex. Yeah.
Alex, yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty significant. So, and we saw when we had the drilling down with Matty Blake, when he was out there, it was much larger. There was more rocks exposed, no more foundation was exposed. So yeah, you're right. Coach said this coin that is right here was found pretty close to the surface. It was only, now remember he was saying about that first, it was about 6 inches, maybe 8 inches deep, that top layer. He called it the cover layer. Laird was, that 8 inches or 6 to 8 inches or so.
The top, yeah.
Yeah, I think we will, Tim. I think we'll see that area next week. Right off the bat, they were scooping out from this area that Gary had metal detected, and then they were sifting it, and out comes this this coin right here that they found. And so you get a picture of it there. This is also, and I mentioned this last week because they were talking about the significance of this. And this is significant, folks. And I don't want you to miss the point on this. That's why I brought it up. They mentioned it again last night, and I wanted to bring it up again tonight. This concrete type substance that they were finding in lot 5 in that excavation. These are some of the pieces of that. They were also found underneath cone E. For whatever reason there would be there, we don't know. Maybe it was making some sort of a base for the rock to sit on so it wouldn't sink into the mud for marking cone E. Don't know the reason why it was there. But they also found some of the substance in below 100 feet in the money pit. And they were talking about how significant that is. And it is because it ties these 3 places together. You would assume that means that the same people were involved in all 3 areas, lot 5, the cone E, and maybe all of the Nolan's Cross and the money pit. Yes, thank you. Gibbs rule number 39. There's no such thing as a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that all 3 of these areas, and they checked the composition of this material, and it matched within, was it 95%?
Yeah, the concrete that they found underneath the rocks and in different places. Yeah, it's 95% match to each. It's a match.
It's a match. Yeah, between all 3 places. So yeah, it really is. Hang on, I gotta delete another. So that's really significant. That's why I brought it up again tonight. So what they did was they ran off. They took this coin that they found. They went over to the lab to get Sandy Campbell, numismatist, to look at it. He and I grabbed this picture because I thought it was kind of cool. Now they got these little black cushions. You know, like you're in a jewelry shop. And
Yeah.
the coin was sitting on the cushion. He slides the cushion on.
Yeah, they might be worried about scratching it. Maybe, I don't know. It's only been buried underground for like 700 years.
Yeah. Well, actually, Gina, there was two pieces. They found the piece last year that had the hair sticking out of it. But I get your point here, and I do
Yeah,
agree
and
with you.
I mean, but we don't know how much was left underneath there. We just
Right.
know we just know he reached in and grabbed a piece.
Yeah. And then they went back this year, picked it up again, and found more.
So,
So
yeah, how much is there? Yeah, one piece or 50 or goodness
yeah.
knows.
Yeah, we don't know. But they actually excavated in that
Mm.
hole and pulled out some more of it. And they really only wanted enough to get some sort of a testing so they could test it. So he took a look at the coin, got right into it, and determined because it was also copper, 70% copper, 16% lead, and also had high levels of arsenic and sulfur, which helps you to date it for sure.
Yeah, it means
So
it's old.
that means it's old. It's
It means
really
it's
old.
old. Yeah.
Yeah, and he talked about it being
Put it
the
this way,
late
that
Roman
the
period.
Smith Wanham McGinnis didn't drop it.
Yeah, no. Now we know that these coins, and this is something. Yes, thank you, Gina. Yes, 200 to 300
Mhm.
AD. 200 to 300 AD. That's old.
That's
Now,
old.
does it mean that's when it was dropped in 200 to 300 AD? No, it doesn't mean that. But that's why they were asking the question of Marty was on the
Yeah.
phone and he was asking the question of Sandy, trying to find out, well, who would have something like this over all those years? You
That's
remember what
right.
his answer was, folks?
Mhm. Starts with a V.
Starts with a V, or you could say
Ends
N.
with a king.
Yes, exactly. Vikings.
V I king.
Yeah, the Vikings would. He talked about them would repurpose. Sandy tells the team that copper coins were used for a long time, and that the Vikings would repurpose coins they found. So they would continue to use them or repurpose them in their own way. So you think about the fact that they would have coins, from
Well,
caches.
it's a copper coin. It's considered valuable. So whatever that copper coin would be, value would be associated with the existing culture, would be the value you'd put on it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I like what Kat said there. Vemplars for the
Exemplars.
Vikings and the Templars together. I think that's, and some people kind of, jump on that whole idea that the Templars and the Vikings were together. Well, I think that Doug Simmons kind of proved that they, did
Possible.
intermingle at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
So would they work together? Why not? Um, did the Norse king not get baptized and into the order or of some sort? So anyway, it's very likely that and this is where we're going to move along here with this too. Yes, hammered, not stamped. You're exactly right, Dave. Thank
Yep.
you. They were talking about how they had made their way over to Iceland 875 AD, and then Greenland in 985 AD, and then over to Los Meadows. How do you pronounce that?
Yeah, L'anse Meadows. Different
Los Meadows?
pronunciations. Yeah.
Yeah, in 1021 AD. Now, and I liked what Now we have that Doug and was it Doug? Doug and Emiliano are going to be taking a trip up here, and they're going to do a little checking around. But Emiliano had said something about 400 years. And I'm going through Jan. She does our synopsis for us, and I really appreciate her doing all that hard work to get all this together. But they talked about, he said, and I forget the exact quote, but he said something about they were here for 400 years. You think they didn't go further south in all that time?
Well, this is the thing, right? I mean, we can prove that they were in Newfoundland. Say 600. They say 600 miles away. It's a heck of a lot further than 600 miles, I think. But anyway, it's down the same coast, the same Gulf Stream line, the same. I mean, if they were there in the year 1000 and whatever, there's no reason in the world why they couldn't have come further down the coast chasing fish stocks or whatever they were looking for, right? There's no reason in the world. I mean, the thing is, you got to prove they were here. You'll never prove they weren't here.
Right. Good point.
Right. And like to Laird's, just looking at what Laird said, I think we need some solid artifactual evidence. Right. Yeah. And then they talked about it a little bit more, and he said, but I wouldn't rule it out.
Right.
So even Laird is saying it's not an impossibility.
Correct.
But you need to be able to show me the artifactual evidence, which is what Laird lives by. Yep. The archaeologists live by. Show me the artifactual evidence that shows me they were here. And to me, finding these coins could be a piece of it.
Yeah, Lisa, there is. Yeah, you're very right. Lisa made a point here to say that she's heard that they moved into the Great Lakes waterways. I think so. If they came down there, I think someone did. I know that later on, Marquette and some of those missionaries came down through there. But I think well before that, I think someone did. It's not beyond the possibility, the realm of possibility for sure. I kind of with you on that. This picture here, this is L'anse Aux Meadows, right? This picture they showed. This is where Emiliano and Doug are going. They're going to go here and they're going to check this out. I don't know what all they're going to take some stuff with them, like the coins, the Roman coins they found. They're going to take that arrowhead that they found last year with them. Marty had mentioned that. But I think too that they need to look at. I would really be curious to see the structure. Yeah, the whistle.
And the whistle. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see the. And Marty's going to go too. Yeah, you're right, Coach. He wanted to go on this particular expedition. But look at the foundation. Look at I want to see the work of these buildings. Does it resemble Lot 5 at all? Maybe not. Probably not. But I think it's a good time to take a look at that as well. I personally believe, and it's just a belief, have no proof to back it up yet, that the Vikings made their way all the way down in what would be the United States, the continental United States, at least as far as Maine and down that way. I would have liked to have seen what that site looked like before it was rebuilt. Yeah, I know, right?
I think if you go to the Parks Canada website, because that's a Parks Canada National Historic Site, there could be some information there about it. I haven't looked it up yet, but I'm pretty confident some of the original discovery photos are there.
Yep. L'anse Meadows.
Yep. And it was when it was originally found, I can tell you, it was just a mound on the ground. It was just no different than finding something on Lot 5.
Yeah. And they did some excavations there and found something else.
It was controversial for years, and then finally they found enough stuff, as Laird would say, the finds, artifactual finds that eventually they drew the conclusion that this is without a doubt a site.
Yep. There are photos and lots of information on the park site. So go check that out. I'm going to check it out. I haven't been there yet, but I'm going to definitely go look at it and see, because I think it's really cool. Canada is Markland. So you got a lot of interesting things here. And here's just a little plaque that they look at. You see, discovered in 1960. So it hasn't been that long.
Yeah. Like I say, it was controversial for a long time as to whether it was or it wasn't.
And the Norse too. It said here the last part, with native people may have led to the Norse to abandon the site. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, that's kind of cool. But in 400 years, they didn't go anywhere else. That's as far as they went. They turned around and went home.
I wouldn't think I think you'd be looking for a new place to live if you spent a winter there.
Yeah.
You gotta find gotta find a place a little warmer than this.
Yeah. May the Norse be with you.
Pretty desolate spot in the wintertime.
Yep. And then there was this. And you know what's funny is that this particular whistle, this is a bosun's whistle, and it was said to be made out of walrus tusk
Hmm.
ivory, walrus tusk
Yep.
ivory.
Yep.
Yeah, the Scandinavian whistle found near Smith's Cove in 1885 by Martha B. Stewart, a wealthy New Yorker who helped finance the 1932 expedition on Oak Island. Had the whistle examined by museums in New York and the American Museums of Natural History. She was told that the whistle was most likely Scandinavian and was made from walrus tusk ivory. Now, this was supposedly found in Smith's Cove. We have to go with what that tells us because we don't
Yep.
have any other information about it. So, and when they talked about this last night, I remember because it's one of my pictures, not this one right here, but one of the pictures I have hanging in the office here has that whistle shown on it. It's part of the picture. And so
Hmm.
I saw that when they were talking about the bosun's whistle. I went, oh, I know, I know about that. Smith's Cove, 1885.
Yep.
So there you go. Very interesting. I thought that was an interesting piece to it. So, and there was other things like Doug Simmons says that would indicate that maybe the Vikings were here, or a remnant of the Vikings mixed with Templars, or you come up with that combination on your own. But somehow, would they have made their way down here? Why not? And if Oak
Yeah.
Island was a great place to hide stuff,
There are some interpretation of early Viking journals, maps, drawings, or you want to call them, that would even put the Vikings in northeastern part of New Brunswick.
Mhm.
So
That's
not
pretty
far
cool.
away at all.
That's
Yep.
really cool. Yeah, it is beautifully carved. It is a really, really ornate and really nice piece. That right there. Yep. Yeah. It's really cool. Oak Island on or before about 1900. So, yep. So very cool. All right. I had one last picture I wanted to show you folks, and then we'll kind of talk to you for a little bit. But one last picture, and this was just one of those shots. You know how they're saying, between segments, between lot 5 and the money pit, or between the swamp and whatever. They always show these aerial shots. And this one I caught last night. They were flying around Smith's Cove. They're right over, looking over Smith's Cove here. And we do see that the wash plant is in place or getting put in place and getting set up. But look at where the long reach excavator is, right by the cave in pit. And he's deep. He's digging down in there.
Oh yeah.
And it was working. He's working. What do you suppose he's doing there? Would it float? Oh,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Somebody Google it quick. Does ivory float?
Does ivory float? That's a good question. Maybe. I mean, it could have. If it did,
Hmm.
the internet says it would sink.
There you
Oh,
go. Renee would know.
wow. So it would never have floated. It could have stormed its way there, just like coins do on the Florida beaches
Be
from the
part of a
17th
shipwreck,
century.
floated in there. Could be goodness knows.
Mhm. Yep. How do all those coins show up there on the beaches? Kevin says, "Shut off the flood tunnels."
Yep.
Yep. I don't know.
I think they're still looking for them, because you can see down around the shore there where they were doing the earlier work. You can see where it's all backfilled in again and smoothed
Yep.
out.
All right in here.
I think they're down there looking for a flood tunnel. I think they want to figure out if there's a way to actually turn this water off,
Mhm.
or if there is a tunnel to the shore.
Yep. Now we know that there was something down there because you remember a couple of seasons ago, right over in this area, like right down around somewhere right around in here. That is where they had dug that 50-foot deep hole that Rick went down in the bucket.
Mm.
And Marty was looking down there as well and said, "You're stopping because he's undermining." But he had reached down as far as he could, and they found what looked like a collapsed tunnel down there at about 50 feet down, 40 or so, 40 feet
Mhm.
down. So was that a flood tunnel, or was that the entrance from the shore that
Could be.
that they read in the notes from
Duke Donville or Don V or whatever.
Duke Don V? Yeah. of building of tunneling in from the shore.
Hmm.
But there was some sort of, and why did the cave-in pit happen in the first place?
Why is it still full of water?
And why is it still full of water? Maybe that's where the water's coming from. So
I'd be curious to know if that pond goes up and down with the tide.
that is a
That's
good
fresh
question.
water.
That's a good question. Is it brackish? Is shaft 18 from Kevin Banks says shaft 2A is shaft 18 from 1898. Could be. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. And neither do they at this point.
Yeah.
At least at the point of the show in this particular point, they don't know what that was. It was an unknown shaft. Curse of Oak Island season started last week. Dreamscape. It started last Tuesday night in the United States, and then it started last Sunday night in Canada.
Correct.
So
But the
last night was.
tales from Oak Island are showing the same time in Canada as they are in the U.S.
Isn't that strange? How they can do that, but they can't
Well,
show.
I think there's still some Skinwalker Ranch stuff going on Sunday
Is
night.
it really?
And once that finishes up, I think you'll probably see it. They did it last year too. That they did some digging downs on Tuesday night, the same as they did in the United States, and then they swung them all over once some other series wrapped up. But I hope they leave them on the same night, then everybody gets to see them.
Yeah, yeah. I think we found a cure for if you if you like to have a little wine occasionally, and I say a little wine. That's not a little wine is for me because I'm not a drinker, but. We decided to come up with a little game for those of you who are, get tired of the flashbacks during the show. We decided that each time they do one of those flashbacks, we have a little sip of wine. So, yeah, I see people talking about whiskey.
Don't plan to work in the morning if you do.
So we were sitting there watching. Oh, have a sip. Oh, have a sip. Gave you something to laugh about when they do the flashbacks that you've seen, and talking about the X-ray machine or the XRF scanner or something that Jeff sent you a message about.
Here it is there. I'm just reading it now. It's episode 4. Optimism abounds when the Fellowship returns to Smith Cove and finds evidence of work that could potentially uncover the legendary flood tunnels and lead them directly to the money pit. So there you have it.
There you have it. That could be what they're doing.
Right.
Thank you, Linda.
We were right.
So yeah, maybe we were correct.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
They're convinced it's there, and now it's kind of like, guys, like we've eliminated all the stuff we need to eliminate up around the top. Let's get it out around the edges and see if we can narrow this thing in.
Yep. Fresh water will sit on top of seawater due to its density, but that means that the sea level saltwater would and a heck of a lot of freshwater drainage. Yeah. So I don't know. Yep.
We have like where I live, it's what they call the river right here by my house is what they call tidal waters. So it's fresh water flowing down the river, tidal water coming in from the Bay of Fundy, the ocean, Nova Scotia comes in, salt water rests on the bottom. The freshwater rides on the top because they're different densities. But I'll tell you, if you take a sip of that water off the top of that river, it's not fresh water.
No.
No, it's brackish. It's salty.
Very brackish.
Don't fall in. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not drinking that stuff.
Yeah, that's really a very interesting thing to see. Last year when we went to, earlier this year, back in August, we went to Nova Scotia, and this year we went up to see the Bay of Fundy, and it was awesome. Talk about a weird experience to see. And we were up by the north part.
You're over in the Annapolis Valley, Digby area, I think.
Yeah. And to walk out there when the tide goes out, I mean, the water was right up to there was a little sliver of beach about 10 feet that we could walk on when the tide was in. Then when it went out, you could walk a half a mile out where
the vertical shift on the average tide would be about 20 feet.
Yeah.
And a super tide or high tide would be 28 to 30 feet vertical, up and down.
It's crazy. But it's something, if you ever go there, you got to go see that. Go to the Bay of Fundy and witness it. We did. We went around to Halls Harbor. Is that the one that Halls Harbor? Is that the one that had the little the storm came in and washed out that road? They just put a bridge across, and
could be.
and
Yeah,
it washed
they
it out.
get beat up pretty bad over there.
Yeah, and it washed it out again. We had to go
Mhm.
across a little footbridge to get across because
Mhm.
you can't drive a vehicle across
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, the tidal shift is so significant here that where my camp would be, if you were to get on the river and go to the Bay of Fundy, it would be 15, 20 miles away by river. The tidal shift is that great that it causes the river to reverse direction.
Mm-hmm. That's and it's something to see because
Mm.
I watched it right
Mm.
there on your deck. Watched
Yep.
it going this way, and then later on it was going that way.
Yep.
You could watch all the stuff going. But yeah, Halls Harbor was really cool. But when the tide goes out, the boats are sitting on the ground, and the tide comes back in, they're right back up. So it was
Mhm.
really cool to witness that and see that. But
Mhm.
beautiful, beautiful place. If you go there, you have to go and check out the Bay of Fundy. We were on a little bit of a tour, we were trying to find the best lobster rolls in all of Nova Scotia. And you know where I think we found? I think we graded all of them pretty well. And I think the best ones that we had were right there at the Island View restaurant. It's right down the road
Yep.
from Oak Island
Right
and
on the shore.
the
You can
resort.
look at the island from there. Yep.
Yep, they're really, really good. Oh, what do you think, Tom?
I
Pretty
think
good
the season's
episode.
off to a great start. I think we're in for even more
Yep, I
great
really,
discoveries.
yep, I really do feel, folks, that this is going to be a very significant season. There has been a lot of talk about things that um, very significant things found this last filming season, this last summer.
Mhm.
I live on Grand Manan, tides up to 25 feet down. Wow. Four times a
It's
day.
something when you go into some of these places like that's my brother. Hello, brother. Big brother. You go into some places and you go in at high tide and the fishing boats are sitting up, level with the dock, and you go in at low tide and they're sitting in the mud.
They're sitting in the
They
mud.
have cradles built in the mud, so that the boat
Mhm.
will sit down and sit in the cradle in the mud at low
Yep.
tide.
Yep.
When they go in and out to fish lobster or whatever, they time their trips to the tide so they
Mhm.
can come in and unload with the
Yeah.
tides.
Yeah. You got to watch it close, I guess, all the
Mhm.
time. So yeah, it's a really, really cool place. What a beautiful place. I tell you, we look forward to coming back again next year in
Mhm.
2025 and exploring some more places that we haven't seen before.
Mhm.
All right, folks, that's it for us. We thought that again. I thought it was a very good episode,
Mhm.
and we'd like to find out more about this. We may not find about more information about what Ian experienced there in the money pit. We may not find out until later in the season. That caisson that was left behind, we probably won't find out about that until September.
Or maybe we get Ian on for a little chat here some night.
Yes, I'm going to try. I'm going to try just for
Might
that.
be a little early just yet. A
Yep.
little too much that he would be afraid of, giving
Right.
away. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we
We
don't
have
want
to
to
be
put
very careful with
we don't
that.
want to put him in that spot. So
No, no. That's why we had him and Matt Lukeman on, which was a very good show, by the way. If you
Mhm.
haven't seen that, it was a
Mhm.
couple months ago. We had Ian Spooner and Matt Lukeman on together, and we enjoyed it very, very much. It was a great show, and they did explain a lot of things to us. And they strongly believe, and that's why he's over there testing that water, that there is still treasure to be found because of the content they're finding in the water. So there you go. And I believe them.
Yep.
So and
No
and
reason not to.
yeah, exactly. So, all right. Thank you for being here with us tonight. Jan, thank you for the synopsis. Linda,
Yep.
thank you for doing all the
Thanks,
work
Jan.
that you do. And Tom Burns, appreciate you, sir, each and every week. And we'll catch you next time, folks, right here on the J Free 906 podcast. Good night.